Good afternoon. Can you hear me well? Great to meet you all. So I tell you the true story about big global international company which has more than 80,000 employees, and it's present and it's competing on a global market for over 170 years. So it's a lot, you have to admit. And before I start sharing the story about Philip Morris, I would like to give you a comparison about what is the difference between working in a big international company and a small one. So how many of you have had experience in international companies? Can you raise your hand, please? Quite a number, okay. But still, there are a few people who has never had it, so let me use the analogy. In a very simple terms, like imagine yourself like sitting in a big boat, which is a big company. So it's very comfortable. You get different food, there are drinks, maybe even a swimming pool, which is gorgeous, awesome, right? It's a less bumpy road, which is also very good, but there is a big but. Important thing is you have to anticipate well if you're going to hit something. Because with a small boat, it's very easy, right? You can navigate easily. With a big one, well, we all know what happened to Titanic, right? So we don't want that to happen to us. So this is the story about the big company which wants and which is working heavily on bringing innovation into the entire corporation. This is a huge attempt from our side, and we all heard what happened to those companies who are listed in a Fortune 5,000. We heard that if we compare those that were listed in 1955 versus last year, how many of them stayed on the list? Do you remember the number? We heard it this morning. Speak up, please. 60, exactly. Only 60. Bravo, fantastic. A praise will come for you later. Okay, great. But look, in the last 18 years, how many of them survived? So, and if you dig a bit deeper in like why some of them failed and why some succeeded, it's simple. One word, innovation. It's innovation that basically making us alive, help us survive, or we are gone. So this is the key. And of course, who is driving the innovation? Who is driving the bus of the innovation? Wild guess? Any hint? Sorry? People. Yes, consumers, people. The one who are going to consume or not to consume your product. The one who are going to say, yes, I do care about your product, or I don't give up, you know? So there, yeah, it's them. And nowadays, they're different if you compare it to 10, 20 years ago. Why? How they're different? Well, how many of you had a mobile 10, 20 years ago? And how many of you could even imagine that in a split of a second you can tweet, you can share? So our consumers basically today, they're having some superpowers, you can see here. They want everything. They want now. They don't want to work. They don't want to wait. If something of those requirements we failed on, so what happens? They say, ciao, I'm gone. They're going to someone else. And this is very important, and this is something which drives our intervention toward innovation. This is the key. And this is exactly what we do in Philip Morris. So before I start sharing with you a fast-forward story, this is how we call our innovation platform, so to say. For us, this is a mindset, okay? But before I go into the mindset story, let me share with you the very important view. There are two schools of thought speaking about innovation. The first one is saying innovation is something which is breakthrough, okay? The huge, the big thing. And they are happening like 1 in a million or even more rarely. So imagine a company which is a tobacco company having a vision of smoke-free future. Is it innovative? Is it very much innovative? It's actually paradox of innovation, right? So this is one type of innovation. But the second school of thought is saying innovation is a bit different, you know? You can see innovation as rather attempt to have incremental innovation. That means you are bringing a constant, continuous improvement on various things that you're working on, system, process, your product, okay? And this is the story I want to share with you. Because the first one, like to create the world of the smoke-free future, is a few billion investments. And Philip Morris succeeded so far in this game. But to bring on board the critical mass of people and to have this incremental innovation as a constant name of the game, it's not an easy thing. And this is the thing I will be sharing with you. How do we do it in Philip Morris? For us, as a big international company, this is how we were, in a traditional way, we're doing most of the things. So we had Hypo or Zebra. Do you know what Hypo stands for, or Zebra? Do you? What is Zebra? What is Hypo? Sorry? Yeah, it's not zoo. It's incorporation. Do you know what Hypo stands for? It could be, yes, but there is something else. Highest paid person opinion. So we are sitting in a room like this, or even smaller, and everyone has an opinion. But then, when the highest person with the highest salary says something, everyone else is, yeah, exactly, that's the direction we should go, okay? We also had some zebras. You know what zebra means? No, we are not a zoo. We are a global international company, okay? So what zebra stands for? Zero evidence, but really arrogant, you know? I guess you met those guys, huh? Some of you I see smiling, so you can recognize some of the people you have met. Yeah. So in a traditional way, you have zebra, hypos, or, you know, people who are having a great idea, and we say yes. Then we create a plan, of course. We have a project group. We invest billions, millions, trillions, whatever you say. We execute it, and yay. Okay, maybe we should move on to another idea. Sometimes it was success, but sometimes it was a very expensive failure, okay? So with the fast forward, we do it a bit differently. So we have 3 bubbles. And this is actually fast forward. It's everything what you have to know about fast forward is there. It's consumer-centric. It's experiential, rapid, iteration, experimentation, and where the unit of progress is validated learning. What does it mean? Failure is an option. So let me try to explain you. There are 3 small phases. The first one is empathize, where we spend approximately, at least in an ideal world, we should spend 80% of our time. The second one is explore, and the third one is execute. Doing it on a very small scale, testing something, means firstly you have to empathize with someone. Once you understand what your customer really wants, because we said the customer is a king, then you go to explore, you do certain experimentation. Once you learn on your experiment whether you're right or wrong, you either go back, because this is kind of a double infinity, or you progress further. You go to execution. So previously, we were very good in execution. So basically, we had a very good project plan, perfect in execution. But what was happening at the very beginning, we simply didn't care much about. Today's philosophy is very much different. So we are firstly trying to understand our customers, and then we are going into experimentation, and then after that, only when we prove and when we have sufficient evidence, we are moving further and trying to scale something. So the key thing, the key questions are, as you can see it here. Firstly, we have to ask ourselves, are we doing the right thing? So it's a question like whether we should or whether we can. If we can do something, we can do a lot of things. But the question is whether we should do it. What's the right thing to do it? And then once you figure out that, then you can ask yourself, okay, are we doing the right thing? So empathy phase. I already said a bit about it. In essence, it's about putting yourself in the shoes of your consumer. Who is your consumer? For me, being a head of HR, you know who is my consumer? My employees. And potentially some of you as a future employees, why not? So those are my consumers, and I have to put myself in your shoes, like how do you understand me now, what I'm talking about, I have to empathize with everything what I see. So what we do on a level of execution, meaning like in Southeast Europe, when it comes to really bringing the fast forward into life, is we are currently working with the middle management. Middle management is working on a real business challenges that they are getting from a top management, and the challenges are taken from our strategy. So we have a strategy. Then from the strategies, we are taking the key business challenges, and we are putting in a cross-functional groups, our middle management, and they're trying to figure out how to address this challenge. So they're spending 2 days with trainers who are teaching them how to deploy fast forward. The first thing they have to do is to empathize, to understand who is the consumer, what are their needs, what are their values, what they are really struggling with. We are using different techniques to teach them. One of them is building persona. And you see one of the products from the workshop we had. So we ask participants, okay, you have this and that business challenge. For instance, how do we increase market share in this channel? And then I have to use a certain tool, a certain technique. This one that I'm sharing with you is building persona. So basically, they are assuming or creating the assumption, who is the persona? What are the demographic characteristics of that individual? What are the behaviors and needs of that individual? Why behaviors are important? They have to be linked to the business problem you are trying to solve. And also, they have to be linked with certain elements, how you can recognize your consumer on the street. So if you see someone, how do you know that that person will be exactly the one consuming your need? Needs and goals of the persona, of your potential consumer, is extremely important, because needs and goals of your consumers are basically the one which are driving their behavior. So this is one of the techniques we are using to put yourself in the shoes of the consumer. After that, they go out. We ask them to go out and to have an interview with potential consumers. And they have to validate or invalidate their hypotheses, their assumptions. This is how we are basically de-risking. Very often they are surprised. Tomorrow they come, because the entire education lasts minimum 2 days. They come and they say like, wow, you know, we just realized like everything we thought about that group of people, it's basically not true, you know. But previously, like in previous setup, with traditional mindset, what would happen? Like we would invest thousands of millions based on the assumption, and then we would scale it, execute it in, you know, across the Southeast Europe or in entire world, and then realize like, oh my God, something was wrong. But we couldn't even figure out what was wrong. Now, like in a split of a second, in a less than 1 day, with a small cross-functional team built of 5 to 6 people. We know already, like, we already learned, like, whether some assumptions are wrong or right. If they're right, we progress further. We are coming to the phase of explore. This phase is the second one, and you go there only once you validate the exploration phase. What does it mean, exploration? There are various techniques one can use to explore. For instance, how do we build on the most promising idea? This is a very simple exercise where we create X and two axes, where we have high business impact and low business impact, low consumer impact, and high consumer impact. And we ask people who are working in a cross-functional group to use a post-its. And for the business challenge they have, we ask them write as many solutions as you can generate individually, in silence, okay? Why? They have like 5 minutes. Why? Well, you know, like when you're working in a group, there are always some people who talk too much, okay? And there are some people who are silent. But it doesn't mean that one or the second one is having a better or worse solution. So in essence, this creates kind of inclusive environment where each of them afterwards, once they are done with the exercise, once they write their idea, how you can respond to a certain business challenge, they put it here and they discuss it. They discuss it as a group, and then at the end, they decide as a group by dotting, those are the dots, the pinky one, which one they are going to focus on and on which one they are going to work, on which one they are going to experiment. So we create an experiment card. And as you can see, there are a few elements which are important to be captured in an experiment card. The first one is, what is the customer problem? The one they had to validate the first day. What is the learning goal? What do you want to learn from the experiment? Like, okay, if we talked about market share of certain channel, so what exactly do you want to learn about that? What is your hypothesis? And then metrics, okay? How you're going to validate. We have, okay, it's back. How you're going, basically, what are the data which are going to help you to understand whether your hypothesis is right or wrong? What are the KPIs? Because you have to set a certain threshold, and then you say, okay, so if I have less than 30 clicks, this is bad. That means that basically my hypothesis is rejected, and we are not going to proceed, or we are not going to scale this potential solution. This is how we are basically de-risking whatever we are working on. And of course, at the end, they have to put a plan how exactly they're going to do the experiment. The experiment, for us, in essence, is minimum viable product, where we invest very little money or no money at all. So we try to make it very simple. It lasts 1 week to 2 weeks, and then it's a loop. If it's okay, you go ahead, you scale it. If not, then we are going back to empathize, again, the best idea, again, experiment. Then if it works, we go to execution. So about execution itself, I'm not going to talk too much because, at least for us, that's not kind of news. As I said, in Philip Morris, we were very good, and we still are, in executing things. That means like in a pure project management. So to do something, to scale it in perfection. And with this one, actually, I have only one slide that I want to share with you, which I think somehow assemble everything what we do. So whenever you think about innovation, there are 3 key elements that you have to think about. It's, does anyone care about the service, the product you're thinking of? So it's basically, whether is desirability there or no. So if you build your persona, if you utilize some techniques, as we do from design thinking or from agile or from Scrum, then you can immediately de-risk your investment in believe me, in 2 hours you can learn whether something is going to work or not. At least from a consumer perspective, whether you're targeting the right audience and whether you're targeting the right need. And then a second question is like, can we build it? Like, is it feasible? Maybe it is, but like in 2 years. Maybe it's too expensive. Maybe it doesn't work with other systems. So you have to watch out on that front as well. And then, of course, viability. Can we make it happen? And can we make money out of it? We are running business, so it's critical that we make the money out of it. So to cut the long story short, for us, innovation is a never-ending story. It's in progress. It's like life, you know. You understand it, and you know all about it, only backwards, only when the things are already happening, right? But you have to love it forward. You have to be open for it. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. And innovation is, I would like to use another analogy and to close with it. It's like undiscovered land, you know. So there is no really a map or navigation that you can use. So yeah, you have to figure out yourself what is the best way. But once you decide it, don't fall in love with your idea, because the moment you fall in love into your own idea, you're in a trap. So make a distance, you know, build on others' ideas, experiment on it, de-risk it, and once you prove your hypothesis is right, super, go ahead and scale it. But if you reject your hypothesis, don't be sad. Try to get the best out of it. Learn from it. And as long as you're learning, you're going to make it. So thank you very much. That's all.
Thank you, Tatjana, so much. Now
Pleasure.
we have 2 questions from the audience. First one, George.
So it's a rather controversial one, but you can expect it. It's controversial to state customer first in tobacco industry, having in mind health issues connected with smoking. How does your company cope with that?
Yes, as I said, consumer is first. We are a consumer-centric company. We are listening to our consumers, and that's exactly why we stated a bold vision in front of ourselves as a kind of target. So we want to have a smoke-free future, and we invested a lot in a product. Many of you have already seen it. Yeah. So the product which is promising in reducing the risk, and you could see it like how it works, because it's built on on heat not burn technology.
Great, thank you. One more question. What kind of innovation accounting is in place for Fast Forward?
Excuse me, can you repeat that?
What kind of innovation accounting is in place for Fast Forward project?
Well, it's very difficult to respond to that question, but yeah, I would say that we have, on a global level, we certainly have an innovation hub which is setting the seed, so to say. But then, like, going deeper in the organization, it's important that innovation is embraced by all employees. So we have various attempts to, you know, like, engage all employees. The one I share with you is for middle management, but we also had other attempts which are opening. We had like Startify on a local level, where we invited all employees to share their innovative ideas. But probably this is for some another meeting where I can share more details with you about that. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, you did. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Tatjana.
Big applause for Tatjana.